317 19th Street Northeast. They have these little foyers with an entry. All the windows look like they have been replaced maybe in the last 15 years. Entry. Used to have wallpaper. It looks like they repainted, if not the house, the trim. The trim looks fresh. There's a little bit of pickling here, which it would indicate that that plaster had gotten wet, but it looks really dry now. The central air system is, it's a fancy system. I've been in the basement to check it out. So on this first floor, the layout is really standard, great. Popcorn ceiling still here. This is the original floor. There's definitely a wet spot, maybe a pet stain, not quite sure. It may require, if these get refinished, that they have to be refinished in a dark stain. That will allow the pet stains to be hidden. But if it's not a pet stain, it could be more traditional color. The windows, they do look newer, but these locks kind of give me, they're vinyl windows. These locks seem to be put on a little later. They look to be in good shape and working properly. Okay. Original kitchen. I want to come out here so you can see the back. The pointing looks pretty good. There's a little bit of a gap right there. An inspector would say that needs to be closed up. I don't know if it needs a new fascia board, that board underneath, but that can allow for critters to get in, moisture. Some of the flashing at the windows at the top need either scraping or painting or some new caulk. But all this looks pretty good. And it definitely gets some moisture down there because you see all that moss. That drain needs to be kept dry, otherwise this will probably, the basement will probably flood down there. Okay. Alright. I will highly bet that this paint should be scraped and painted, and it's probably lead paint. Oh, sweet. Wow. Okay. So these kitchens we usually see get opened up, but you got to think that there is a supply duct there. And here. So there's some HVAC going on in this wall that would need to be recreated. It's not hard though, because the basement is right underneath us. And this is where we can see most of the things that are important to point out. A little dark down here. So the ducting system down here, this was a fancy system back in the day. I bet this we typically say they last about 15 to 20 years, and I bet this is 40 to 60 years old. And it's really nice in this house. It's being kept cool. Water heater looks newer. It has a humidity control. Here's the humidifier. All this looks really good. So washer, but no dryer. I bet they air dry, line dry, and probably just a toilet. And actually, my mom is with me and she used it, so it works. Okay, they've sealed around the door. It looks pretty well maintained. Another concern is that there's a significant step crack here. in the corner that I saw. I don't know if it's still moving, but the gap there is, you know, it's not insignificant. That might require a home inspector to put their eyes on it, and they may not be concerned, or it might take a structural engineer to figure out if there needs to be anything done. There's really no sloping or cracking upstairs, so it might just be superficial. This is the stack, the sewer line. It's cast iron, and those last about 100 years, and so this house is probably about 60 years old. You can't see it, but here is the, oh, okay, that's cool, electrical box. 100 amps, modernized, but it looks like the wires going out are all, none of it is the knot and tube, which is cloth. But this is not enough to for standard use. Today's day and age require 150 to 200 amps, and 100 amp panel box would probably cause a lot of shortages, like a lot of people tripping circuits if you're running. Well, it doesn't have a dishwasher, you know, but if you're running a dishwasher and trying to plug in your hair dryer and a computer, I could see circuits tripping everywhere. This looks to be like a copper line coming in, which is good news. And let's go upstairs. Actually, before we go upstairs, I just want to look at that one corner where we saw the step crack. Does it slope? And in here. Kind of. It looks like fresh paint, but it doesn't look like really new or good repairs. We'll look in the same corner upstairs too. So going up these stairs, they have a railing. We don't usually see this, but it's to code. A lot of people put skylights here. This house gets east and west facing, so we're getting some western sun, I guess, here. Original bathroom. It's kind of cool. Just to let you know, if you ever replace this tile, you either go right over it, or if you have to take it out, it's laid in concrete, so it's pretty heavy duty. Original sink, so that's wild. Trying to look to see if they've replaced the plumbing in here. You'll notice that they're all two-pronged outlets in this house, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was still some steel plumbing in the house. We'll take a look at, if I can see it, maybe in the closet, if we can check that. Here it is. Oh darn, hold on. Great. Yes. Okay. This is not copper. This is steel. They replaced the spout. This probably leaked here at some point, and they replaced it with PVC, but it matches up to steel piping. The steel piping here, what it is you can see it's it's rusting on the outside. I bet it's rusting on the inside. So steel piping, unlike copper, rusts over time. As the years go and water flows and then water doesn't flow, it rusts, and then the rust builds up and becomes like a clogged artery, which then increases the pressure in the pipes to where you either cannot get any water pressure, and or the pipes will burst because the pressure becomes too high. So I'm gonna just run the water and see if we can. Oh, did you see how it came out, started pink? Okay, now I'm gonna flush the toilet and see. Okay, the pressure's not too bad at this point, but you'll have to know that the piping at some point would need to be replaced in this house. We can talk about what that means. These don't really concern me at all. It's just more like old drywall. I don't know what this is. This is odd. Oh, it's the medicine cabinet. Okay. Here's the same corner. I don't know. I don't feel like it's sinking. There's some drywall tape that's badly taped from a while back. So nothing showing there. Okay, the wiring in there. Can't tell if it's clogged. That's, oh, sorry, that's not helpful. It looks like partially clogged. So some of the electrical also just may need to be replaced. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. And focus. Okay, great. All right. So my walkthrough of this house makes me think this is a pretty awesome house. We don't see a lot of these left anymore. It's actually pretty well maintained. It has some old wiring and needs a heavy up. And that is typically running to rewire the house, to add new outlets, replace the outlets that are currently there with three-pronged, which has a ground and a neutral. And then replacing the wire that's there, you have to dig into the drywall. That's about 12 to 15. Plus the box needs to be made bigger with more circuits and more power with what we call a heavy up, which works with Pepco to then bring more power to the house. That's about 3,000. So we're at 18 for electrical. Does that need to be done tomorrow? Probably not, but that's probably done first, I think. Unless anything's wrong with the roof, which I can't tell, but it doesn't look like there's current leaking. And the plumbing, it's working, but if you're opening up walls to replace the electrical, that's the time to replace the plumbing lines. The plumbing lines, there's really only like 2 runs that you got to replace in this house because there's only one bathroom above grade. So all in the basement, it's exposed that you just replace the steel with copper, and then the supply lines that go up, I bet they are in, let's see, this is they could be in this wall in the dining room, because the bathroom is up here. So the supply lines may run up this wall, or maybe there. And then they'd have to run over. But so it takes a little exploration, but let's say I'm making it up. This wall, like behind this, the plumber would have to open it up, put new pipes in, take the old pipes out. And I think for one bathroom and the run from the main line in the basement to down through the basement ceiling, it's probably 10,000 also. So and then at that point you need to then paint, fix the drywall and paint. And if you do that, you might want to do these ceilings. That's another 10. So we're 30 in at this point easily. And that's not doing anything cosmetic, well, except maybe the painting and replacing these ceilings here. That would just be plumbing and electrical. The HVAC system was well designed. However, if you're opening up the kitchen, you may have to move some of the ductwork around. And that HVAC system is so old, but it looks like it is working like a champ. But I wouldn't be shocked if Murphy's Law strikes and this is the year that it needs to be replaced. And that is an $8,000 replacement for the tower on the inside that was in the basement, and then the condensing unit that's outside, which I didn't see, so it might be on the roof. That's before you get to any cosmetics. There are some slate tiles on the roof in the front that look like they need to be replaced, and then the roof itself is unknown. And if that needed to be replaced, that would be about $6,000. Okay, looking forward to talking, and I hope this is helpful.